The Eagles news is already overflowing this week, as several key decisions are about to be made, including the report today that Howie Roseman's right-hand man is officially coming back to Philly. Plus, the Tush Push's final verdict is about to be revealed, and Jalen Ramsey's trade rumblings are a lot more serious than I realized. I think we better buckle up. I'm Thomas Mott. This is The Thomas Mott Show. This week is getting pretty crazy. You should definitely prepare yourself because there's a lot going on inside the world of the Philadelphia Eagles. From trade rumblings to tush push votes to the news that just dropped this morning, that Philadelphia is officially hiring back former Jets GM and Eagles front office personnel guru Joe Douglas. In a move that, yes, is off the field, but it's a massive get for the Philadelphia Eagles. Douglas was long seen as Howie Roseman's right-hand man during his four-season sting from 2016 to 2019 in the city of brotherly love, playing a key role in Philadelphia's scouting department as perhaps one of the masterminds behind the Birds' shockingly good drafts during the time he spent in Philly. And the Eagles' draft picks during his time were so darn respected that he very quickly was poached by the New York Jets to become their official GM during the start of the Aaron Rodgers era, which, if you remember, at the time was seen as one of the great resurrection projects in the entire NFL, and Douglas was the man to do the job. Now, of course, hindsight being 2020, the Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers tenure in New York didn't really work out, and he was obviously fired for that. That's why he came back to Philadelphia today. But you shouldn't let his GM failures turn you off from the fact that during his time with the Jets, he had some pretty good draft picks as well. I mean, Douglas had some absolute home runs, adding stars like Garrett Wilson to the Jets on the outside. How about Sauce Gardner in the first round, and even guys like running back Breece Hall? I think us, the fans, might not ever fully realize just how important Joe Douglas was to the Philadelphia Eagles and what he can be going forward. We don't get to see the day-to-day, behind-the-scenes stuff. We just see Howie Roseman makes a trade. Howie Roseman drafts this player. That's why the Eagles are so good, but it's what's around Howie Roseman that really makes his front office hum, and he's so darn successful. Joe Douglas coming back is a very big deal. Drop a like for that down below. Now, not to be outdone, Philadelphia made a second announcement, this time in the afternoon, confirming the Birds have reached a contract extension with Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni. Now, of course, the details of coaching contracts are rarely public, but Nick Sirianni was entering the last season of his original deal, so a post-Super Bowl extension was a virtual no-brainer. My guess is Sirianni now ranks somewhere in the top 5 of the highest paid coaches in the entire NFL, somewhere between $15 and $25 million a year. And two things immediately jump out about this. First off, coaches' salaries do not count towards the actual salary cap, so it doesn't affect Philadelphia's chances to trade for somebody or sign somebody. More on that in a second. And second off, I think Nick Sirianni's coaching career so far, 4 seasons in, is one of the craziest, greatest, most impressive stories in recent history. Nick Sirianni was hated from day one. Many thought the Birds' previous Super Bowl winner in Doug Peterson was fired too early. Pair that with a less than impressive opening press conference and a horrific offensive display, an embarrassing wildcard loss in Sirianni's first year, and, well, his leash seemed pretty short from day one. And that wasn't it. It got even crazier for Nick Sirianni because despite a record-setting 2022 campaign, saw the Birds dominate all the way to the Super Bowl and honestly nearly won that game, people still found ways to praise everybody inside the Birds locker room for that success besides Coach Nick. I would then argue that most fans during the ensuing 2023 collapse were ready to fire Nick Sirianni after the wildcard loss to the Bucs. And that does include myself. I went back and looked. I've made at least 2 videos blatantly calling for Nick Sirianni to be fired over the past couple of seasons, with the most recent being after the embarrassing Week 4 loss to the Bucs this past year. Just 5 months before Nick Sirianni would get the last laugh as he raised the Vince Lombardi trophy for the first time. As it currently stands right now, Nick Sirianni ranks 5th on the all-time win percentage list in the entire history of NFL coaches, and is the only coach in the Super Bowl era to have 4 playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowl berths, and a Super Bowl victory in his first 4 seasons as an NFL head coach. The truth of the matter is, Nick Sirianni is 100% a winner. All the antics aside, the sideline stuff, is he a little bit immature? Does he beef with Jalen Hurts? How is he as an actual offensive coordinator? That doesn't matter right now because Nick Sirianni, since coming to the Philadelphia Eagles, all he's done is win. And personally, I think this video of Kyle McCord just this past weekend on the Kay Adams Show is a perfect example of how even brand new Philadelphia Eagles view the current head coach.
I mean, he's great, and he says all the time he wants it to feel like a college program, which it truly does. And talking to some of my friends that are on other teams, it's not that same vibe, and you can just tell like immediately when you walk into the facility, it's just a tight-knit group. And so I feel like that all starts with him. And like you said, I don't think he gets his flowers. I mean,
he doesn't.
When you actually win a Super Bowl as a head coach, you do get a very long leash, and so I expect Nick Sirianni to be here, obviously with the contract extension, for a very long time. But I view this as absolutely fantastic news. He deserves this. I've always apologized for being wrong about him. I think most people would agree. This is great news to go ahead and start our Monday afternoon. Also, I want to give a massive shout out to one of my favorite sponsors on the channel, and that is Groons. Now, if you haven't heard about Groons, well, it's pretty darn simple. It's a packet like this with a bunch of individual gummy packets inside. That's a multivitamin, greens product, prebiotic, all packed into one simple little packet. You can travel around, carry it with you, take it in the morning, and feel fantastic. And the best part has got to be what's what's actually inside these gummies. With 6 times more gut health ingredients than the leading greens powders, you also get biotin and niacinamide for healthier hair, skin, and nails, plus functional mushrooms for brain support, and vitamin C to help fight stress-inducing free radicals. And greens are so convenient and so easy to travel with, as I showed you here, because I was in Europe. You sit down at a nice little cafe, you want to have breakfast, but also get your multivitamin, your greens, your prebiotic. It's all in one pack. Open it up, eat the gummies, they taste great, and you're good to go. And Greens' gummy form is actually way more bioavailable, so you can go ahead and absorb even more nutrients than, say, just taking, again, 9, 10, 11 different really hard to swallow pills. I take these things literally every single day, and I'm actually almost out, and so hopefully Greens will send me some more. But if you want to go ahead and try them out, 52% off is the deal that Greens is giving you right now down below my description box. Click the little link, try them out. Trust me, you're going to love them. Now, of course, from good news on a Monday to how about some bad news, as tomorrow and Wednesday, the NFL owners' meetings begin in Minneapolis, and they will officially have 32 men in a room together, finally deciding the fate of the Eagles' brotherly shove. Which, if you remember, back in April, they apparently were going to vote on banning the tush push, and then decided to go ahead and not to. They tabled that vote until May, and guess what? May is here. They're going to officially vote to ban the tush push probably on Wednesday. Now, there are a couple of key facts to know. The league needs 24 owners, or 24 teams, to officially vote yes on a ban to stop the Eagles from ever using it again. As, of course, the actual language of the proposal is what officially matters, as the act of pushing or pulling the ball carrier is what they are trying to ban, in an effort to return to the NFL's pre-2005 rules on the exact matter. And instead of debating whether the tush push needs to stay or go, let's just be 100% frank up front right now. They are 100% going to ban the brotherly shove on Wednesday. I'm convinced it is going to get banned, and so you yourselves, as Eagle fans, must prepare for the same. I mean, Diana Rossini pointed out back as early as 2023 that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell wants to, quote, permanently ban the tush push. And if the commission wants something gone, he will likely get his way. And yes, let me stop you right here. I can already hear your comments down below saying, if it was so good, why haven't other teams ran it with the same success? And the NFL did its own study last year showing 0 injuries from the play in 2024. To which I'd say, yes, I 100% agree. I'm an Eagles fan. I want the brotherly shove to stay. There's no actual science behind banning it. It makes no sense other than the fact that other teams can't stop it, and the NFL thinks it's an ugly play, and so they want to get rid of it. It's super dumb, but it's still getting banned no matter what. Personally, I want to focus on how the Birds offense will simply adjust. And honestly, it's really not that difficult because, first off, the tush push ban doesn't officially ban the quarterback sneak. It's just the pushing part of the QB sneak. So odds are Philadelphia will just line up and run the exact same play, minus having a running back or A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert shoving Hurts in the back, and likely convert on a high number, if not the same exact number, of short yardage plays. Second, we do forget that Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie told the guys on WIP a couple of weeks ago they are trying to resurrect the fullback position, which included extending now full-time fullback Ben Van Sumeren a couple of weeks ago, as Philadelphia likely saw the writing on the wall and said, you know what, if you're going to ban the tush push, we'll just run fullback dive or power I formations and have Saquon Barkley convert on third down and short and still be just as dangerous. And that's the funniest part. The Eagles are still going to be extremely successful at third down and short, fourth down and short, fourth and goal, third and inches. They have Jalen Hurts' power. That's not going away. The Eagles' incredible offensive line, Jeff Stoutland, that's not going away. A fullback, Saquon Barkley, they can ban the brotherly shove any day they want. It'll probably happen this week, but Philadelphia is still going to be just as successful, and in the end, it's going to be a terrible look for the NFL. Honestly, the other rule the NFL set to vote on this week is way more concerning in my opinion, as the league will vote on the Detroit Lions proposal to reseed NFL playoff teams based on record instead of overall divisional seeding. And this to me is absolutely insane. They're going to try to vote on potentially making division games, teams you play twice a year every single season, completely irrelevant going forward. For example, last year's playoff seeding in the NFC, we all know, looked like this. Detroit won, Philly, Tampa, and LA rounding out the top 4 seeds because they actually won their division and therefore were rewarded with home playoff games. And below them, the 14-win Vikings, 12-win Commanders, and 11-win Packers all had to travel on wildcard weekend because they did not win their division. If the Lions' proposal actually passes going forward, the playoff seeding last year would have looked something like this. Detroit 1, Philadelphia 2, then Minnesota and Washington now sitting 3rd and 4th and actually getting to host playoff games, and the division-winning Bucks and division-winning Rams being forced to travel on wildcard weekend. If this rule passes, why have divisions or even divisional rivalries in the first place if those games end up not mattering at all? It's not my fault the Vikings got killed 31-9 in Detroit on the final week of the year this past season to lose their division. Maybe actually just win that game, and then you could have been the 1 seed and not have to travel on wildcard weekend. And let me be clear, this proposal is expected to pass according to some NFL experts. With Warren Sharp tweeting today, quote, I predict the proposal to change playoff seeding will pass. 2 key reasons are simple and hinge on the NFL wanting to increase ratings. Playoff seeding by record and reseeding after round 1 will make Week 18 more meaningful, make it more likely top 2 seeds reach the conference championship game. But the funniest thing about this is, it seems like every single year the past couple of years, an NFC team has failed to reach the Super Bowl, and instead of just admitting the fact that they got beat or they didn't play well or they had an injury, whatever it was, they have worked to now change the rules to, I guess, give them a better chance going forward instead of just trying to win the football games. I mean, Green Bay couldn't stop the tush push in the playoffs, so what do? Instead of trying to figure out how to run it themselves, nope, they're going to vote to go ahead and ban it this week. Likewise, Detroit, remember, they were the 1 seed but couldn't beat the Commanders in the divisional round, and so they had to vote to make sure they got an easier playoff opponent the next time around. And naturally, let's not forget, the 49ers, a couple of years back, they couldn't protect Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship game, so then they had to immediately vote the following year for a third emergency quarterback because that would have made a difference in that game versus Philly. A very simple solution to all of this, how about just winning your football games, right? I mean, come on. If the Green Bay Packers beat Philadelphia, well, tush push, doesn't really matter. Detroit Lions beat the Washington Commanders, well, doesn't really matter. Philadelphia isn't proposing to ban anything because guess what? They actually won their playoff games and won the Super Bowl. Interesting how that works. Now, speaking of Brock Purdy and moving on to some other news that happened this weekend, 49ers decided to shell out $265 million to the former Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL draft, giving him over $53 million a year in an extension that sent shockwaves through the National Football League. Now, of course, we can argue back and forth if Purdy is actually worth $53 million a year or not, but the craziest part of all of this for Philadelphia is the fact that his new deal now pushes Jalen Hurts outside the top 10 of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, which is hilarious because if you remember, when Philadelphia gave Jalen $50 million a year back in 2023, it was just a ridiculous signing because he was unproven and not an elite quarterback. This was going to come back to bite the Eagles. And of course, since that extension, a bunch of other quarterbacks have been paid a lot more money than Jalen Hurts, and now he's outside the top 10, yet he's the only quarterback making over $50 million a year to actually win a Super Bowl. Now, there is an argument that Jalen Hurts should now ask for a restructuring because he's way better than these quarterbacks, has actually won more than these quarterbacks, but I don't think Jalen Hurts would do that. He doesn't seem like a guy who gets $50 million a year and then goes, yeah, but Brock Purdy got 53, so I need 54. Let's restructure. I think he's very comfortable with making a ton of money and obviously wants money to go ahead and keep the team good around him. And so just funny to watch other teams panic and have to extend quarterbacks for more than Jalen Hurts. And yet Jalen Hurts is the one winning games. Thumbs up for Howie Roseman doing deals early. Shocking. It works way better for teams than waiting like Dak Prescott and obviously Brock Purdy. Now, moving on to potentially the biggest story I think of this week that no one is talking about is a brand new report surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles and cornerback Jalen Ramsey, which has a lot of layers to it. So let me break down. First, this officially began last week when ESPN's Adam Schefter said on May 15th, quote, "There's more interest in Jalen Ramsey than people realize," following reports all offseason long of a mutual agreement between the Fins and Ramsey about potentially finding a trade out of Miami. Now, pair that news with a new report over the weekend by Logan Lane on Twitter, adding further fire to the Eagles' trade ties when he said, quote, "The Eagles have emerged as a team engaging in trade discussions for Dolphins cornerback Jalen Ramsey." Now, that's big news. First off, though, let me just say, this Logan Lane guy on Twitter, I did a deep dive to see if he was actually a Dolphins reporter, and that alone is a little shady, which makes me think this report, it's a little bit iffy. I mean, one look at his Twitter bio, and he claims to be the lead editor of TropicalSportsTribune.com, which if you click on, it takes you nowhere, and I did a Google search, there's no such thing as a Logan Lane or a Tropical Sports Tribune. So is he a Dolphins reporter, a blogger? Does he have connections? Honestly, I have no idea. Still, he might be a credible source, and again, we gotta remember, Howie Roseman likely has at least called the Miami Dolphins because that's what Howie does. I mean, back in 2021, Logan Lane is right, Philadelphia traded back to number 12 with the Dolphins for eventually moving up to number 10 overall to select Devontae Smith. And of course, 2 offseasons prior to that, Philadelphia moved linebacker Kiko Alonso, cornerback Byron Maxwell, and the 13th overall draft pick for the Dolphins' 8th overall pick. Philadelphia would then later use to trade up to number 2 to draft Carson Wentz. So of course, whether or not Logan Lane is a real reporter, has real insider information, I DM'd him on Twitter, he says he does. No way to know for sure, but what's important though is that Ramsey wants to be traded, the Dolphins are trying to move him, and Philadelphia and Miami have some serious previous connections in terms of the trade market. Now, of course, you're probably going to be very quick to point out to all of this that the former Dolphins DC, aka Vic Fangio, and Jalen Ramsey might not be on good terms after the latter posted this tweet back in February of last year saying, quote, "Blank be crazy how stuff plays out sometimes, but I think I know for sure that it was an honor playing with one of the greatest corners in Miami Dolphins history," talking about Xavier Howard. "In my opinion, I will never ever forgive dude for not utilizing our full skill set," which we all assumed was a shot at former Dolphins DC Vic Fangio, who, as we all know now, his tough, no-nonsense coaching style did not set well with the really soft Dolphins defense. And that will raise some concerns. But I will say this, if the Eagles were to make a trade for Jalen Ramsey, we all can rest assured that Howie Roseman and the Birds front office talked to Vic Fangio, they talked to Ramsey's agent, talked to Ramsey himself, and made sure that they were cool with each other before doing the deal. They're not going to go ahead and trade for Jalen Ramsey knowing he hates Vic Fangio if that were actually the case. Plus, going back to this unknown Dolphins insider Logan Lane, he actually spoke on this matter, tweeting, quote, "It's been alluded to but never confirmed. He likely took issue with Fangio not allowing him to shadow the number one. I suspect that sort of thing can be brushed off when you have a chance at a ring with the defending Super Bowl champs." And this is a great point. Jalen Ramsey likely wants to win another Super Bowl. Philadelphia gives him a great shot. Plus, there's proof that a veteran can be very successful in Fangio's defense because you take one look at Darius Slay's tape last year and it just jumps off the screen. To me, the biggest problem, in my opinion, is Ramsey's current contract. It's pretty cheap in 2025 and he has an out in 2026, but he's due a ton of money the following 3 years. This trade to even be remotely possible, the Dolphins would either have to agree to eat most of this money beforehand, or Ramsey and the Eagles would have to go ahead and do a handshake on agreeing to restructure before the trade takes place. And this is important because Philadelphia had a chance to re-sign Isaiah Rodgers in the offseason and chose not to because he was too expensive and it was like $7 million a year. And Darius Slay, again, had a great season in 2024, only cost $10 million in a one-year deal to the Steelers. If they wanted a veteran cornerback, it's got to be cheaper than those two numbers because they had the options a couple of months ago. But I will end the Ramsey discussion on this. Got to remember, Darius Slay is 34 years old. Jalen Ramsey is a whopping 4 years younger and arguably has a lot more left in the tank than Big Play Slay. He, in my opinion, would be an upgrade as long as he's bought into the Fangio scheme and, of course, didn't cost too much. Philadelphia secondary, as we know, it's pretty young this year, so if Howie thinks a Ramsey move moves the needle, I think he's got to find a way to go ahead and pull it off. Now, in some other rapid-fire news, there's an unconfirmed rumor that Saquon Barkley is going to be the new Madden 26 cover athlete this year, with this potentially being the official cover. And of course, we know June is usually when Madden reveals who the cover athlete is, so we're going to find out sooner rather than later. Now, I know we all worry about the Madden curse as famous names like Donovan McNabb's season-ending groin injury following his 2006 Madden cover selection surely rings pretty loud in Birds fans' ears. But the most recent cover athletes have all had pretty normal seasons, with very few missed games across all of them. I gotta go back to Rob Gronkowski's season-ending back injury post-2017 cover as the most recent serious quote-unquote Madden cover curse. Don't read into this too much. The whole Madden curse thing, to me, it was broken a long time ago. If you believe in it, whether you don't, I personally don't. Saquon deserves to be the Madden cover guy. He's the most prolific NFL athlete this past season. I think he's going to be selected, just a matter of time. Finally, huge shout out to the Eagles Autism Foundation and their annual Autism Challenge walk and bike race this past weekend that included over 7,000 confirmed participants at the link this weekend and over 43,000 total donations, which accumulated over $10 million to the good cause. Josh Davis and I were personally invited by the Eagles Autism Foundation to actually participate in the race this year, but I had my 1-year anniversary vacation with my wife, and Josh was actually going to go, but his flight got canceled, so we didn't end up making it. But rest assured, next year, Josh and I are going to be there, and we're going to go ahead and create a team where you guys can sign up and join us and bike with us and be officially a part of our team, and so hopefully a bunch of subscribers come out. But it was a great event. Talked to people who were there this past weekend, and shout out to those guys for doing a great cause and getting so many people to donate and actually participate. Now, there's going to be a lot more news happening this week. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe. And of course, we're still waiting on the Eagles to officially tell us when we're going to have the ice cream party with the Philly Dogs. I think it's happening next week. As soon as we know, we're going to let you guys know. Get some guys selected. Be sure to subscribe for that. Hit the thumbs up because it's coming very soon. But we're kind of waiting on the Eagles to tell us when. But again, should be sometime next week. A lot of stuff going on. Buckle up. It's going to be fun. Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.